Wow.
That's the pressure.
Wow. Wow. Oh, this is awesome. This is a game changer.
Welcome to the Land House YouTube channel. I'm Seth. This is a ram pump. It's a water pump that needs no fuel or electricity to operate, only flowing, falling water. So the concept is water falls through a drive pipe, closes this waste valve, and that sends a pressure wave into this pressure tank. When that water pressure builds up, it then sends water uphill on the delivery side. So in today's video, I'm going to be installing this 1/2-inch ram pump here on the Cross Timbers farm. So let me show you around real quick before we get this installed. Starting from the top, the spring we're working with starts right over in here, but comes out of this pipe right here. And the owner has actually put an old bathtub down here, which is an excellent way to keep the water clean. And we can put our drive pipe source intake right here, put a little screen on it, and that will be an amazing place to pull the water for our ram pump. It's going to travel down this way. There is another spring in this direction that we're going to place the pump in so that the wastewater will just continue back down the creek. And our total input head pressure, we're anticipating to be somewhere around 7 foot of drop. So let me show you where this is going to go to right over here. You can see where the drive pipe is going to be. We've laid out the pipe already. And so right down in here is where the pump is going to rest. From here, it's going to have a garden hose delivery pipe, which travels up the hill right here. And it's going to go to the corner of the fence so that the goats can have water and potentially cows in the future. And so it's going to go up this hill right here, and the fence is right there. So we're thinking somewhere around a 30-foot lift from where the pump is going to be located. To get the water out of this bathtub, we're going to be able to siphon up and out. And so we're going to install a 45 on the end of a 1/2-inch piece of pipe. So to do that, we're just going to cut off about 5 or 6 inches here. It's a lot easier than using a hacksaw.
Much easier.
The drive pipe is held together with some PVC cement. Because the ram pump typically has a fairly strong pressure wave, you want to make sure that the components are glued on here nicely. We're using 10-foot sections of 1/2-inch PVC as the drive pipe. It's important that the drive pipe match the size of the pump, so we're also using a 1/2-inch pump. So on the shorter pieces like this, you have to use these couplings to get the two pieces together. Sometimes you can find the 20-foot pipe and it will have a bell on one end that will allow you to not have to use one of these couplings, but in our case, this is going to work just fine.
We would like to have this pump below our home water source here. The nature of the wastewater from the pump spilling, 24/7, to keep it below this so this water source here for our home stays pure. And if we're going to try to sit it right below these reservoir tanks here in the creek, and I think it'll be perfect. So now we're going to glue this adapter onto the end of our drive pipe here with the screws, the threaded screw in to go into the pump. So we got to get this glued onto the end of our drive pipe here. Nothing better than playing in the water on a hot summer day.
In the shade.
In the shade, that's right. Okay, we have a ball valve here with part of the union for the pump already attached. And we're going to attach this. Seth has already put Teflon tape on the threads. And we're going to attach this. And so we can close this valve and go back up to the source and get water either poured down into the pipe to build some pressure, or siphon it so we can get water started down the drive pipe to start the pump. We have some window screen here. It's just usual window screen that you can pick up at about any hardware store. And we're going to cut a section of it here to put over the intake of the drive pipe to keep debris from going down our pipe. What do you think? More this way, like that, and then fold it?
Yeah, that'd work. You might even give it a little closer to the end just for surface area.
When the end of the world comes, the guy with the most zip ties will be the guy that wins.
It'll be a battle between him and the duct tape guy.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
All right.
We have the screen on the intake for the drive pipe, and now we're going to start pouring water down the pipe to start trying to build some pressure. I'm going to walk along the pipe and per Seth's instructions, and ever so often pick it up to make this water flow down toward the pump so we can get some pressure down that way. I can feel weight of water right here. I hear it. Yeah, it moved. It's wanting to turn up a little bit. Need to see if I can get it to turn down instead of up. Okay, so we are back at the end of the drive pipe, and we've poured water in at the spring source, and we hope that it has made its way to here. So we're going to open the valve and see that we have the water here, and hopefully purge any air out of this drive pipe. Okay, I heard some puff out. Any air that goes into the ram pump is a problem. Okay, we have loaded the line with some pouring water in up at the source, so now we're going to open the ball valve and see what kind of water we have. See if it siphons. You can see the air in it too, bubbling out, pushing it.
If the siphon is starting slowly, you can lift the pipe up about head high and then drop it quickly, and that will help to pull the air out faster than if you just let it be. So we're going to keep doing this until it has a full stream of water. So just lift it up for a couple of seconds, let the water build up in that pipe, and then you drop it back down.
Myself and Seth have walked the line back and forth and picked the line up and dropped it to get all the air out, and now, as you can see, we've got water flowing really well. So our next step is to connect the pump, and if we have any air in the line, the pump's going to stop. So we think we have most of the air out, but we do have a very long drive pipe, so we're going to give it a whirl.
You can close your valve to make it not splash on you there.
Okay, let's make sure our O-ring is still in there, and it is. For our test, we've turned the water on to the ram pump. The delivery valve closed.
All right, now it's a matter of just cycling that until it starts on its own. There we go. So what's happening is air or pressure is being built up in here, creating that back pressure, and so you almost have enough in there so it'll cycle on its own. Close your drive pipe, and then hold the pump up a little bit so you can see, and open that side over there.
Wow.
That's the pressure.
Wow. Wow.
In that short amount of time.
Wow.
So that's what we're looking for to push that water up the hill.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so now it's time to install a board on the pump to keep it upright, and we're just going to put a plumber's tape, strap, whatever you want to call it, right there. That good?
Should hold it up.
Okay. Okay, we're going to install this garden hose. We have a 100-foot garden hose here that we're going to feed down to the pump and use it as our delivery to our temporary stock tank. Okay, we have a old fence here, and I'm just going to feed this under to Seth. All right, we'll just unroll this 100-foot garden hose up the hill. Okay, this is a 100-foot hose, and we are to the end. And there's the stock tank, so.
It's required that you're always at least 20 foot short.
That's a requirement. Absolutely. Okay. Good thing we got a little more hose. And this soft garden hose will allow me to just be able to drive over it with a tractor or.
Close the valve, and it's going to bypass the pump and start filling up the delivery pipe until it matches the source. This doesn't take very long. And now it's going to be a matter of pressing down the waste valve, and it's going to take quite a good many times, because what's happening is every time this cycles, it's going to push a little bit more water into the delivery until it has enough back pressure pushing down on the pump that it will keep this operating. So I'm just going to sit here and push this. Now this might take anywhere from 10 pushes to 100. So whenever it gets close, you'll be able to feel it, because it's going to want to start trying to work on its own. So I'm just going to keep pushing this until it has enough water in our delivery pipe.
Okay, here we are. The delivery pipe. I wonder how far the water, it's pretty heavy. And it actually feels cold. That's some pretty cold water coming out of that spring. It's pretty heavy here too. I can feel the line's cool. I don't know, I feel like it's there too for some reason. I could be wrong. You have much more experience. You might tell me, no, you're way off. It's way down there or something.
It feels like it's somewhere right in there.
Okay. Just through and kind of get me a piece. And use one more clamp, just somewhere to clamp it like that, just so it spills over in. And I've got a little piece there. If you notice in the stock tank, to drain it, I've got a bulkhead adapter in the bottom and a faucet underneath.
That's smart.
Right down there. So instead of having to dump the whole thing, I can just open a valve, and I've got a little piece of hose to let it run away from the fence. Isn't that great? Keeps wanting to go right back against that wall.
So it doesn't look like much, but over the course of a day, that's a lot of water.
You better believe it. 24/7. That right there, that's a lot of water.
What's your reaction to getting water up here?
Oh, this is awesome. This is a game changer for our back pasture. We've had the issue of no water in this rear pasture for years. And while we could have dug a line and run electricity and electric pump, you know, on grid, that's just what we never wanted to do. And this will allow us to open this section for our rotational grazing for the goat herd wonderfully. This is awesome.
We just wrapped up the install of this 1/2-inch ram pump. We had more input head pressure than we first thought, somewhere around 8 feet. And the lift we didn't quite measure, but I'm thinking it's somewhere between 30 and 40 feet. So we might end up having a little bit of an issue with not having enough back pressure pushing down on the pump, because we were within 5 or 10 feet from the top and the pump stopped a couple of times, and I let more pressure go through and it's continuing. So it's doing somewhere around 1/4 gallon a minute, which for the goats he's going to have up here in the pasture should be sufficient. And of course, installing a bigger tank will hold more water and be able to support more animals. Let me do a quick walkthrough of this system so you can see what it's like. But if you have any comments, leave those down below. I'd like to hear your thoughts. And do check out the Cross Timbers Facebook page for the farm here. I've got a link to that in the description down below. Let's do a quick full system walkthrough here, starting with the source. So the spring we measured previously to be flowing at about 1.66 gallons per minute, which is enough to run this pump. And so water's coming out of the pipe here into this bathtub, and then we have that screened intake, some zip ties over there. We used a 45 to keep the pipe down into the water. Put a few rocks over here. The drive pipe is somewhere around 150 to 160 feet long, which is a little bit long, but the 1/2-inch pump can handle a drive pipe of that length. If we wanted to make the pump a bit more efficient, we could install a little standpipe right down here to bring the source closer to the pump. So about where this fence is right here, we could put a T into the pipe and it would stick up somewhere around this tall right here, and that would just bring the source to this point, and the cycle time would be a lot faster because it wouldn't have to be traveling quite so far. So the drive pipe has most of its drop from this point right here down to the other spring, which is right over here. So here is the 1/2-inch ram pump, and you can see it's cycling a little bit slower than once a second, and adding that stand pipe is what would increase that cycle time. Now we've got somewhere around 8 feet of input head pressure, and that can lift up there past 60 feet. And so we're only lifting about 35 or 40 feet up here to the tank. So he may have some issues at some point with this pump wanting to stop. He'll either have to slightly crack that delivery valve closed, or he'll have to push this further up the hill. All right, let's go ahead and walk up the delivery pipe. The pump is located right down there and travels a little bit over 100 feet up this hill to his stock tank. Now he's going to be replacing this temporary tank with a much larger one in the future that he can store more water, because this is just a half of a 55-gallon drum, so about 25 gallons. You can see from earlier, this thing is about half full, so you're looking at somewhere around 10 to 12 gallons that it's done here since we started. I hope you've enjoyed this 1/2-inch ram pump install for the Cross Timbers farm. Check out the Facebook page to the farm, and also if you need a ram pump for your very own, I have those links in the description as well. I'm Seth with Land to House, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
I was telling Seth that to be a good steward of the land, it would be really easy to just fence off part of the pasture and make an alleyway and let the animals, the livestock, come down into the woods here and right to the spring and drink. But you know, I feel like that as a farmer that you have to be a good steward of your land and do everything you can to keep your land healthy. And I think letting animals down into the woods and especially around the heads of these water sources is not a good idea. We've all heard the saying, we all live downstream. Well, you know, that's very true. And keeping these water sources, specifically the heads of these water sources, as pure as we can, you know, is our responsibility to be a good farmer and to be a good steward of our land. And we do rotational grazing, and the reason for our ram pump here today and Seth's expertise in installing this ram pump is so we can do rotational grazing. We've had issues with our farthest back pasture for a couple of years of not being able to get water to our stock tanks. And it's been an issue that we have scratched our head and tried to figure out how we were going to do this. Of course, we do have a well that we could dig lines and run water lines underground and use electricity, you know, but when you have these sources available on your own land, why not be a good steward of those sources and use what you have available to you? So I think it's a win-win situation with the water sources we have here. We have excellent pure water sources here in the mountains. We have 3 great springs on this property, and we're going to utilize this one with no electricity to pump water uphill to our stock tanks so we can eventually keep some livestock in that pasture. And this is going to be great. So with Seth's expertise on this pump, and I'm sure glad I found him, because this is going to be fantastic for our animals.